Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the YAP Chronicles, a series in which I, Jake Steinberg, a writer, go through Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for the first time, paying attention to the storytelling techniques, the style, the structure, stuff like that. And you probably already know this, but I'm opening this video up a little bit differently, talking to you directly, because this VOD is different from every other one we've done, because there is absolutely no gameplay in this entire video. I understand what you're thinking. You're looking down at the time code. You're seeing how long this video is. How is this possible, you might ask? This is a YAP exclusive, all right? A lot of stuff that I think typically I might even cut out of a VOD, but as I was going through and I was listening to it and I was editing it, I think a lot of the topics that came up on this stream in particular, though you might think are unrelated to the game, unrelated to the reason that you might be here to begin with, I think one, these topics are, and the discussions we had were important, but two, I think that these kinds of conversations have the potential to make you a more well-rounded person, which will make you better at understanding stories, which is what I think all of these videos I do are really about at the end of the day. So I hope that people that watch this, I hope you find something valuable here. I hope you find something worth listening to. But otherwise, I've got like 5 hours at the end of this chunk that were all part of the same stream where we were actually playing the game. And since I've already got that stuff recorded, the next VOD will be here before you know it. So hopefully that will make you all happy. But really, no matter who you are, I hope you find something here that is valuable and worth listening to. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. So let's talk a little bit, chat. I do want to say, I do not know how many chapters are in this video game, but I'm going to assume that that number is going to be 17, 18, based on chapter 9 being the midpoint. Some traditional story structures, you find that Act 1 is a little bit longer than Act 2, but the way that these chapters are, and it's being a video game and all of this stuff, you know, it can neither here nor there. So not that it matters, you know. Chapters are, of course, more or less a social construct. So, you know, it's like who does it really matter? No. I think what's important to me though is that I just want to talk about chapter 9 and kind of what we saw in chapter 9 in the context of it being a midpoint. And something that I brought up a lot when I was sorry, I took a lot of notes for this so that we could talk and I'd be prepared. It's like I'm teaching my class right now. I've got my notes on the side. I think when I made my video, my YouTube video on the VOD, something I noticed that I got a lot of pushback over is that I used the word climax. I used the word climax to describe where we were. Oh, and you know what? I actually got is the stream supposed to be titled Chapter 11? Oh, no. I'm Not Adrian said, can you roughly explain what a beat is? Okay, great question. So sorry if I have not been clear about that in the past. So I subscribe to kind of like an orthodox teaching or writing methodology when it comes to stories. And it is also the lens through which I understand stories. And when I teach a class and when I'm teaching students how to creatively write, how to outline their stories, and outlining is like very important to me, I tend to do it through before I get to it, I'm sure you've come across the hero's journey before, right? I'm sure somebody has said that to you, or you have heard that at some point in your life. The hero's journey. I think the hero's journey and that kind of understanding of what a story is, I kind of find it to be the less articulate and helpful explanation of what I do, to be completely honest with you. When people talk about the hero's journey, they're like, oh, step 1, the first part is the broken world. And I'm like, shut up. This is stupid. Don't, like, I just, there's something about it that doesn't ring as true to me as this methodology that is based on beats that I'm about to explain to you now. And Colloquially, this is known as save the cat story structure, okay? And the idea is that any story that you consume, any book, any video game, a movie, a TV show, whatever, any story can be broken up into 15 story beats, okay? And this is kind of how when I'm consulting on a story, when I'm working on a TV show or like a movie, this is kind of how I help people discover or help them discover what their story is really about. Save the Cat is the book about this, right? Kind of. This is a very universal idea. So you find this idea repeated across literature many, many times. I am familiar with it through the terminology Save the Cat. If you Google Save the Cat, you will find a million different authors talking about Save the Cat. I don't know if there is a definitive, like, this is this person's thing and this is where, but because it's so widespread now and everybody kind of has their variation on it. And when I talk about it, you might even hear something that's like not quite what some book you read about it says, because I'll just refer to something differently or think something works in a different way. But generally, the idea is, thank you for the follow, Violet of Violets. 15 story beats, and these are the what happened to my tunes? What happened to my tunes, chat? What is this? What is this? And where's my chat? We'll get it going. Don't worry, chat. Oh, it's still there? It's just rocking slow in the background? It's rocking a little quiet right now? Yeah, it's back there. All right. It's the Divine Roost is the song right now. It's back there, though. All right. We're intently listening. Oh, okay, good. Okay, it's there. Yeah, it's a little quiet for me just because I don't want it too loud in my ear, so I'm like, because I can hear myself think. But yeah, you're looking at 15 story beats broken up into 3 acts. Okay. So by this point in Xenoblade Chronicles, we have already experienced the opening image, right? We've already experienced the theme stated. We have already experienced the setup, the catalyst, the debate. These are the beats that we've kind of already hit. And then we went into Act 2. I actually made a whole video, I think, where that was kind of like the premise, was me kind of showing how I think we got to the end of Act 1 and we were breaking into Act 2. We introduced the B story, which is actually something, it's labeled here, which is so something I actually want to return to. And we did the majority of Act 2, which is fun and games. And fun and games, of course, led into the midpoint. So that is where we are right now. And something that I want to make clear to everybody about the midpoint and my use of the word climax in the last YouTube video, because I had so many people, maybe like having heard that term so many times over the course of their academic careers, maybe thinking what the climax was and what it meant. And I'm realizing now that I've used it in my context, in my professional context, so many times that maybe I have a little bit of distance from what people think the climax is, versus how it is to me. So I just want to clear that up really quick, because I think like when people hear the word climax, what they are expecting, based on the YouTube comments, is that it's like the most emotional moment, right? I'm not going to answer. I see your questions here. I'm not going to answer too many of these just because I think I cover it in past videos, so it might be worth just to like go back. But like, fun in games is not just one thing, right? And it's all about like, what is the section trying to accomplish, and how is that mission accomplished over the course of all of these different things, right? And yeah, climax does not mean the climax. It could just mean a peak. Okay, that's close. But specifically, when I use the word climax, something that I am talking about, especially in reference to the midpoint, is that what I want to talk about is that fun in games. If you remember a couple of YouTube videos ago, I talked about Harry Potter, and I talked about how Harry Potter, fuck J.K. Rowling. I'm going to talk about how Harry Potter's whole thing is that he wants to belong, he wants to have friends, and he wants to be popular. And you see how the fun and games of that section, it's on an upward path, right? You see how the whole game you're playing, it's like or not the game you're playing, the story that you're reading, it's Harry goes to school, he makes friends, he is a freshman on the Quidditch team, and the midpoint of that story is that Quidditch game where he kind of debuts to the world and he shows everybody, look at who I am now. I did it. I won. I got everything that I wanted. I have friends. I'm everything's good. And when I say climax, the thing that I'm trying to make clear to people, storytelling, craft-wise, is that this is the peak of that upward path that Fun and Games puts you on, okay? This is, okay, and really quick, just because, and I think that makes sense, right? It's like if Fun and Games is about either articulating an upward path or a downward path, because that happens too for your protagonist, it's driving you to the midpoint, okay? So that's what I mean. That's what I mean by climax. It is the peak of what you think the story is about up till that point. It is the climax of what that character thinks that they want, okay? So I think that this makes sense. And I just want to clarify something because I'm seeing some comments I don't like about it in the chat a little bit too much. I'm seeing some people say things like, oh, okay, what you're doing right now is that you're separating the art from the artist. And I think we are all a little too excited to use phrases that we have heard before without really understanding them. And something I'm trying to do on these streams and with my audience here is that I just want everybody to become a little bit more creative and also empowered in their own perspective. You don't have to say something because you recognize this is a situation in which you have seen that thing said before and you go, I get it, I see what he's doing. Don't do that. Just use your own perspective. Am I separating the art from the artist right now? I don't think so. But what I am doing is understanding that pretending Harry Potter doesn't exist and that it is not a valuable touch point for a lot of people who maybe have not read a full novel before or since has nothing to do with the material politics of J.K. Rowling, right? I wish
we're best friends.
I wish,
right?
That I didn't have to use Harry Potter as a reference point, right? Because it's not about J.K. Rowling's opinions. I don't care about J.K. Rowling's opinions. I don't care about what is in her heart. I also think that if you really wanted to dig into Harry Potter, you could find incredible flaws in it. You could completely destroy that book series. Especially from an ideological perspective. And when I say I don't care about J.K. Rowling's opinions or whatever, I say that because what I do care about are J.K. Rowling's material actions. The fact that J.K. Rowling literally funds anti-trans legislation, supports anti-trans politicians, has a material effect on real lives. Yeah, it makes me sad that part of what I am doing when I bring up Harry Potter is that I am maintaining the relevance of Harry Potter, right? I am keeping it in the zeitgeist, and that sucks. I hate that. But I also think that maybe something like Harry Potter hits a saturation point. And whether or not I talk about it on this stream is not going to make Harry Potter more or less popular or liked, okay? This is not giving you permission to say, I don't care about anybody's opinions. I don't care about anybody's politics. I am free to enjoy whatever I want to enjoy. So listen, guys, I just think it's important that, like, people, I think, are in such a rush to ignore politics and just be like, well, I like it, so that's an excuse for me to like it. Right now, something that's going around is the Studio Ghibli AI photos, okay? And I hate those Studio Ghibli AI photos. Everybody's posted them on Instagram. Studio Ghibli-fied, here's me and my boyfriend, whatever. And obviously, like, AI generative art is absolutely terrible for the environment. If you want to be absolutely depressed, go and look at what AI is doing to the environment. It is absolutely sick. But it fundamentally misunderstands the point of art, right? It turns art into something, you're reducing incredible art down to 2 or 3 aesthetic markers. Absolute slop. It's absolutely disgusting. But really, guys, the thing that bothers me the most about it is that everybody at this point is well enough aware that generative AI art is bad. I think I don't even have to get into it further than that. It's bad, okay? And when I judge people's politics, and I judge people by their politics. And if you don't, I think you're a privileged baby. But I judge people by their politics. And what I mean by that is that I don't judge them by having the right opinion. I don't care about the right opinion. I don't care about what's in somebody's heart. Don't care. What I care about are their material actions. And the easiest way to judge somebody by their material actions, okay, is to ask them or to observe, what is this person willing to give up for the sake of solidarity with another? What is a form of comfort? What is a form of privilege that they are willing to eschew, that they are willing to abstain from for the sake of solidarity with another, okay? If you are not willing to abstain from posting a dumbass cartoon photo of yourself that nobody even cares about onto your Instagram page, you are not willing to give up that little, whatever tiny reward you think you get out of posting that, you have terrible politics. Terrible. And I will judge you for it, because you deserve to be judged. All right. Scientician said, it's unfortunate that Harry Potter made an impression on me at a young age. No, it's not. I enjoyed watching the first few movies as a kid, and the character of the author wasn't on my radar as a 13-year-old. If I could go back, I wouldn't have shown myself those movies. No, don't be dramatic. Don't be dramatic. Guys, focus. I'm like begging you guys to like focus on real things. It is not morally wrong to have liked Harry Potter as a child. That does not matter. There is no correlation between liking Harry Potter as a child and like not being woke. And I feel like there's this liberal idea that has taken over, has given everybody brainworms, where the most important thing is to appear as if you are good. Appear as if you are good and correct and have the right opinion. And that has gotten us into way too much trouble, because then you know what happens? Appearing good and correct changes throughout history. People change. It changes. People don't know what's good and correct. The line is always moving. You need to have an ideology. You need to have things that you care about, that are important to you. You need to define what that ideology is and not be a reactionary. Care about something that matters. Yeah. And that's the thing, man. That's the thing. It's like it's so easy to tell like who has politics and who has like identity politics, because this like decorum, this like I'm a good person is so identity politics, dude. And it gets us nowhere. It gets us nowhere. Like, I don't know, guys. In my version of America, okay? In my version of America, J.K. Rowling is still allowed to have anti-trans opinions. She is still allowed to have those opinions, okay? But in my version of America, you know, maybe the legislation does not let those opinions go beyond opinions, okay? In my America, J.K. Rowling would still get free universal healthcare. You know what I'm saying? I just don't know what the end point is for people. And I think for so many people, the end point is to say, look at me, I'm on the right side. And that's not enough. That's not enough. It can't just be the end point. Look at me, I'm on the right side. I really hope people take this to heart. When you are representing yourself about something that you think is important to you, you need to ask yourself, and you need to say, what is actually different? What is really different if I take the opposite opinion? Is it just that my opinion is different? Is everything about the world the same? Yeah, I don't know, guys. Joshua says, I'm only 22, so I don't know much about politics. Only thing I wish for is people getting along, but I know it will never happen. Yeah, Joshua, and you know why it will never happen? Let me tell you why. Because when you allow wealth to accumulate at the top, the only way that billionaires can be made, the only way you can allow wealth to accumulate the way that it is accumulated in America exclusively, is through exploitation, right? And the only way to keep exploitation going and allow that wealth to continue to accumulate is to keep people on the bottom, have a ruling class and an oppressed working class. Because if the ruling class loses their oppressed workers, if they lose that class of people, their exploitation cannot continue. That is the only way that they are allowed to continue, and that is the only way that they can accumulate their wealth. So why don't people get along? Why don't people get along? And you got to keep the people on the bottom fighting. You got to keep them fighting. You know what I mean? You ever hear about, like, you're working at a corporation and you've got the boss, and then you've got the 10 employees. Well, the 10 employees at the bottom are all going to fight each other for that promotion, for that raise, for taking a little bit of, because that means something. That means, oh my God, I got a $1,000, $2,000 raise at my job. That's huge to them. Meanwhile, the people at the very top are making millions on the dollar. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, you got to keep the people on the bottom fighting, and you got to sell them this dream that maybe, if they're good, and if they stay in line, and if they don't unionize, they could be one of those people at the top eventually. They could be one of the ruling class. It could be you. Shut up. It could be you. So, the amount of arguing and infighting over that new Hogwarts game was astounding. I mean, for the record, fuck that Hogwarts game. Buying it is stupid. And, I think anybody that covered that game through preview or review coverage is a coward. Once again, I feel like I say this every stream now. This is not a democracy, okay? This is not McDonald's. You don't get to come in here and say, actually, I want it this way. No, my opinions are more important than yours. I'm here. If you want your opinions to be important, you need to go to twitch.tv and you need to start streaming on your own channel. You don't have to be here, right? The difference between you and me is that this is my stream. I am here. You do not have to be here. You can click off. Well, at McDonald's, you get to weigh into what you want. You can order a cheeseburger. You can order chicken nuggets. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you that this is the product. This is what it is, all right? If anything, this is a Burger King, because I'm the king. Okay, it's a monarchy in here. I'm the king. I decide what's going on. Okay, guys, the Hogwarts Legacy thing was exactly what I was talking about with the AI art. It's the exact same thing. Is your solidarity so? Let me explain. Okay, maybe some people in here are confused. I'm gonna do this, and then we'll talk about Xenoblade. Okay, I'm gonna do this. This will be the last thing, and then we're gonna talk about the game. Let me explain the Hogwarts Legacy thing so that people in here that are maybe too afraid to speak up can understand it. Okay. Mel Gibson is a Nazi. He is. Has neo-Nazi views, has proven time and time again that he straight up hates Jewish people. Hates them. Okay. When I watch a movie and Mel Gibson is in it, I cannot forget that. It distracts me. It makes it so that I am unable to enjoy the movie. It takes me out of that experience. And I feel alienated by the fact that that is not true for everyone. I feel a little freaked out that other people are willing to eschew that, are willing to say, that doesn't bother me that I'm not distracted. I can just enjoy this. I can just consolidate my privilege. My privilege is so comfortable and nice and sweet that I don't think about this at all. That makes me uncomfortable. That freaks me out. I cannot watch Mel Gibson stuff, all right? How dare you? How dare you? Knowing that there is an extremely oppressed class of people that feels rightfully so that they are on they are constantly under attack, and in no small part thanks to this extremely prominent author materially supporting and funding politicians and legislation actively taking away their rights. How dare you come in here and say, but you know what's important to me? It is important to me that I tell people that I like this video game, that I am able to enjoy this video game, that I successfully have separated the art from the artist. No, you didn't. You never cared. It never bothered you. You only knew you had to pretend for it to bother you. You didn't separate anything. You're a moron. You have no solidarity with anyone. I can tell you from that comment that you're not a well-rounded person and you're probably a piece of shit. And that person to come in here and say, I like that game. Fuck off. Get a life. What a loser. What a freak. What an absolute just like throw them in a locker, dude. Just see them in the hallway, grab their trapper keeper, throw it on the floor, push them in the locker. What a loser, dude. Just an absolute sniveling nerd that thinks that they are doing something, that thinks that they are adopting a pseudo-intellectual position by saying that they were able to enjoy a video game about wizards made for children based on a book written at a third grade reading level. Congratulations, you did it. You did it. Congratulations. One of the most mass market products ever created. You enjoyed it. Oh my God, you did it. Congratulations. Oh, you're so special and cool. Fucking idiots, God. If you're confused, Bungle says, if you're confused about why Jake says it's important to you, it's because they chose to take the time to type it out. When you speak up in chat, you're presenting what is important to you, so please make good choices. Yeah, that's true. And listen, I want to be charitable to people, and I want to try and meet people where they're at, but you can't, if you sit through an explanation about something and then that's how you choose to enter the conversation, you're showing me who you are, and I don't think you get to enjoy this. I don't think you get to enjoy us playing Xenoblade. I don't want you here. Go somewhere else. So yeah, that's my stance. From what I've seen and from my own experience, I'm 50-50. This is Joshua 170 1B. I'm 50-50 on things Trump does. The Canada thing, why is he doing that? Trying to fix the debt problem, that I can get behind. Joshua, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do this to you. But like, he's not trying to fix the debt problem. You have been lied to. And you need to, this is a media literacy issue. Because somebody said he's trying to fix the debt, and you just bought that. You just believed that. And I'm not trying to dunk on you. I'm trying to meet you where you're at. I'm telling you that there are news sources that are heavily invested in you believing that, in you taking that as good faith, okay? So let me explain something to you right now. He's trying to fix the debt. We can all agree. Now, Joshua, if I asked you point blank, why is it important that he fix the debt? I want you to just be honest. Be honest right now. Don't run to Reddit. Don't start Googling things. Do you know, for you, as like a citizen of the country, why it's important that we fix the debt? Do you know? Genuinely curious. Just trying to see where we're like why is that important? Like why are we invested in that? as a nation. You know what I mean? What have we been doing the past 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, like what has the debt done to us, right? And the other thing I want to say is that, like, when you look at spend, when you look at government spend, most of the government spend, of course, is it's going to the defense. And maybe Josh was thinking, but I just want to say for everybody else here, the budget. Let's talk about not truthfully, but I think it could lower the price on some things. Okay, Joshua, and this is what I'm saying, is that I think that there's this idea of agitprop, right? It's supposed to agitate, it's supposed to make you feel something. And I think that there's a lot of agitprop right now in our political conversations. And a lot of people don't ask that next question. They don't say, well, why is this actually important to me? And let me just fill you in on something really quick. A couple of weeks ago, I did a stream where I called my senator, okay, on stream. And I did that because the Senate was about to pass a continuing resolution to the budget, okay? This was a budget that the Republicans proposed. And it's through the power of the purse, our government decides what is going to get funding, where is all the government spend going, how is the government spending its money? Okay. Trump and Elon Musk, they shut down all of these federal agencies. They shut down USAID. They fire 6,000 USDA employees, right? 6,000 USDA employees. Okay, 6,000 USDA employees were fired last month, and they were just rehired a week ago with back pay, which means that the money-saving effort that Donald Trump and Elon Musk did was that they paid 6,000 government employees. They paid them to not work for 1 month. Excellent way to save money. But anyways, the continuing resolution to the budget, saving money. The government actually already decided how much money was going to all of these institutions and these programs before they were shut down. So you would think, oh, okay, now we take all of that money out of the budget. Now that money, we're saving that money. That money is going to go to relieving the debt. No, the budget was already passed and the Republicans successfully passed the budget. So what happens to all of that money that we saved? The money actually goes into a slush fund now, where Donald Trump and Elon Musk, as the president and the shadow president, if you will, can now misappropriate that money and use it however they want. They can use it to, fund Republican politicians in areas of the country that they want those politicians to get elected. They can, you know what I'm saying? They can use this money however they want, and no money was saved. No money was relieved. There is no debt relief. This is an illusion, okay? And the amount of money that is being relieved, if there is any, is circumstantial and meaningless, like the Florida election. Yes, exactly. And I believe Wisconsin right now, something's going on. But yeah, so just so that we can all be on the same page about what is going on here. The amount of money that is, I think we need to talk to. I think we need to talk about something. If the rich people have 80% of the money, okay? If 10% of the people have 80% of the money, and 90% of the 90% of the people have 20% of the money, can you whittle away that 20% of the money and save money? 100%. 100%. Yeah. But if you don't pay attention to where 80% of the money is, that top 10% of the people, what are you doing? Are you just doing exploitation? Yes. So I just want to be clear, because I think it used to be different, right, with politics. It used to be different. And that comment from Joshua 171B, it caught my eye. Why don't they tax the rich more? Can I tell you something? In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, there was a marginal tax rate, okay? that we had, in terms of American economic growth, we had the most economic growth that the country has ever had. Soaring economic growth. Everything was great. The marginal tax rate was like, I think it was the equivalent of, if you made more than $3 million, 90-something% of every dollar you, thank you, top income level tax tier was 91%. 91%. What is it today? What is it today? Somebody check. Who did that? Who's my good chatter right here? Who's my good chatter? I saw the other day people, 37%. Jesus Christ, dude. I gotta tell you, I don't think Hyper Luigi, I don't think that's, yeah, and I think that those numbers are maybe, I think it's actually worse than this. I think that 37% makes it seem better than it is. I think it's actually worse than this. A lot of people hear 91% marginal tax rate and think all their money is taxed at that level and not just the money over that threshold. God, do people really think that? That is so depressing, dude. That is so depressing. Oh my God, wait, I did not realize that. Yeah, guys, I just think that this kind of stuff is tough to talk about because I think the entry point is it's really hard to get everybody on the same page, right? Because it's like, okay, so the question is, why don't we tax the rich more? Well, then I think you have to understand, like, who are the politicians that are vying on our behalf? How do those politicians get elected? Who funds their campaigns? Why is there only one populist politician in our one prominent populist politician in our government? You know what I mean? Yeah, and the problem is that none of this stuff is particularly complex. None of this stuff is particularly complicated. But you just have to understand that, like, as cheesy and as corny as it sounds, there's a degree to which, like, the corporate elite just kind of, like, run the world. And if you can make the corporate elite happy, the people at the bottom don't have any option but to go along with it, right? Because we have no social safety nets in this country. So if you go to work and you say, boss, I need an extra $10 an hour or I can't do this job, and your boss says, I'm not giving it to you, what options do you have? You can't quit your job. You need your health insurance. Maybe your family depends on you. Maybe, you know what I mean? All of these, you got to pay rent. You got to get food, all this stuff. We have no social safety net. So if you quit that job, you're dead. You're dead. Not only are you dead, you're like an untouchable in society, you know? Because we place so much emphasis on the value your value as a human being is tied to the amount of value that you can generate at work. So yeah, it's, you know, again, I don't think any of this is particularly complex. But I do think there is a certain point where people just kind of leave. People just kind of leave the conversation and they decide they're not interested, right? They decide that it's like, okay, this is too much. I don't care. And here's the thing. Maybe people like this are in my chat. Maybe they don't believe me. Maybe they don't believe me. Maybe I'm saying stuff right now and they think that I'm giving them liberal or leftist propaganda. You know what I'm saying? But my whole thing is, chat, if I see somebody come in here, and I'm sorry to make an example of Joshua earlier, but if I see somebody come in here and they say, well, I kind of agree with like half of what Trump's doing, I am so confident that you are not one of the 1% of people in this country that will actually benefit from Trump's policies. I am so confident that I know I can tell you that you have been had. You have been had. It's so easy. It wasn't like this before. Now it literally is that I'm very confident. I'm happy to have these conversations because I know that what has happened is that you have misinformation. That's it. All right, let's see. Jake, sorry, I feel like misbehaving earlier. Shot the vibes. No worries, no worries. Just gotta ride the wave now. Genuine question, this huge push for making sure reproductive rates stay high, is that tied to having an abundance of workers to exploit? Yes. If there's a shortage of work, then the workers have bargaining chips, and that's bad. Yeah, but it's also just like the economic toll of having a child is so high that it is a great way to keep people dependent on being a laborer. You force them into being dependent on being a member of the US workforce. So, yeah. Trump has the superpower of convincing people to give him the benefit of the doubt for no reason. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of that, but I also think it's that Americans have good instincts, and I think it's very easy to take those instincts and point them at the wrong target. When Americans go, hey, I feel like my government isn't helping me. I feel like my government is made up of a bunch of criminals. I feel like there is exploitation and corruption in the government. I agree. You are correct. The problem is that you've got one side saying that is the case, the Republicans, and they're telling you it's because of fucking DEI. And then you've got another side, the Democrats, saying, well, that's not really true. No, there's no corruption. We're good, dude. I'm with her. And then you go to the Republicans and they're going, it's DEI, baby. It's DEI. You get on a plane, there better be a goddamn white man piloting that plane. And if not, you get off. Only white men. And then meanwhile, if I see a white man piloting that plane, chat, I don't know if I can get on it. If I roll up there, I see into that cockpit, I got a white guy, Brian, and then his friend is sitting next to him, Scott. Yikes. Yikes. Brian and Scott better tell me immediately, before I take my seat, before I put my luggage into the overhead bin, Brian and Scott better tell me that they're part of a polyglot. Brian and Scott better tell me, all right, that they are, you know, the third and fourth in a polyamorous relationship, okay? Scott better tell me that he's a they, that they are they, them immediately. If Scott is not a they, them, I'm out. I'm off the plane. All right. I'm off the plane. All right. Truthfully, I'm glad for the things you said. I like to hear other people's views and how they compare to mine. Isn't that a good part of being part of a good conversation and discussion? Also, side note, and not that important, the 171B is the Enterprise from Star Trek. Very cool. I don't really know anything about Star Trek, but thank you for the tip. And Joshua, here's the thing. I engaged you in good faith. Yeah, polycool. Thank you. See, I don't know what I'm talking about, chat. I was trying to make a joke. I was trying to be funny. I don't know. You know what I meant. Joshua, here's the thing. I engaged you in good faith because I felt that you were engaging me in good faith. I didn't think you were trying to position yourself and trying to say I'm smart or I'm this or I'm that. I felt like you were coming at it honestly. And that's why I engaged you in good faith. That's why I didn't say you're out of here. Okay. So I appreciate you doing that. Okay. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you being part of the discussion. DI was keeping planes in the sky. That's right. But what do you consider to be a white person? Is that a real question or a fake question? Is that a real question? Are we talking about what whiteness is? Because chat, this is interesting. This is interesting. All right. My mother is Latina. She's a Cuban immigrant. So that's half. That's mom. That's not grandparent. That's not great grandparent. That's mom. Half. What do you think, chat? If I were to ask you right now, white. Am I white? What do you think? White or no white? What do you think? And yet, when I have a form, when I am doing something for the government, what do you think they expect me to put down there? Are you white or are you Latino? What do you think? Does one override the other? 50-50. What do you think? How do you decide? Who decides? Can you check both boxes? Sometimes. Do you decide? Listen, here's what I'll say. I have had forms come back to me because I put white and they were like, I don't think so, buddy. And yet, I think we can all agree here that I have some level of white privilege, right? I think we can all agree that I may be white passing, right? But I think here's what's really going on with that, okay? Latino is a completely made up ethnic category that mushes together white Cubans, indigenous Dominicans, Mexicans, Colombians, all of these people are in this made up category called Latino, right? Because that category was really made. Neither Jake nor Steinberg are particularly Latino sounding. Well, what if I told you my full name was Acabo Carson del Carmen Torres Steinberg? Does that change things for you? Fucking dumbass comments with your names. The name. So stupid. Yeah, I was born in America to a Jewish father. I go by Jake Steinberg. You jokers. All right, like, Jesus Christ, dude. Oh my God. All right, you clowns, dude. Oh God, gotcha. Your name. Actually, reverse Uno, dumbass. Wait until I tell you what Uno it means. Fucking idiots. All right, I'm gonna kill the chat, dude. I'm gonna kill the chat. Gotcha. Oh my God. Oh Jesus Christ. Man, oh man, oh man. Anyways, guys, the problem, and I see a lot of people are circling the answer, and the answer has nothing to do. You're looking in the wrong direction. Whiteness is not real. Whiteness is not real. Whiteness is a social construct that we give and take when it is convenient, okay? Irish people, Italian people, depending on where you are, when you are, they get whiteness, they take it away. That's it. So when I ask people, am I white? They go, yeah, you're white. Chat, talk to me in 5 years and we will see. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that we are going to start saying that Jews are not white. And I think that opinion is on the rise. And I have met people that would say that is the case. So just be aware. Just be aware that whiteness is a social construct, whiteness is a power dynamic, and it is given and taken from people at a moment's notice. Part of why you're seeing an uptick in anti-trans rhetoric right now and anti-trans legislation is that it makes it easier to legislate against people depending on anything you want. It makes it easier to restrict people's rights, okay? Oh, thanks, Bungle. I didn't even realize you went to emo Oni mode. I appreciate that. So you do this uptick in anti-trans legislation. It makes it easier for you to legislate against women. And eventually, you can pick on anybody. You can take anybody, and you can find a reason to legislate against them. We're seeing it right now. We're seeing people all around the country get deported without due process. And they just have to make up a reason why. All right. So chat, here's what we're going to do. We've been streaming for quite some time. How long have we been going? Over an hour. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn us into the little whatever you call this. That little thing. And I'm going to take a bio break. And when I come back, I'm going to do my stupid Xenoblade presentation, and you're all going to be on your best behavior. All right? I don't think any of this is getting into the VOD. So I'm going to start from the top, and we're all going to be cool. I said what I needed to say. I'm seeing some head nods in the chat. I appreciate it. I'm going to take a little bio break. We'll be right back. Bungle, if you're still there, when I hit that away screen, feel free to take people off of emote only mode. I will return post haste. Thank you. Be right back. Anyways, I have this blog up, and I think just when people talk about my identity, I think something to keep in mind are here are a collection of things that people have posted at me. All right, people have tweeted at me. So just, you know, when people bring up my my name and my whiteness, just, oh yeah, this is good. This is good stuff. Oh my God, so many posts. Just me existing in the world. Wow, this is really something, chat. Can you believe this? How long do you think this is gonna go on for? How long do you think this is gonna go on for, chat? Whoa. Oh God. Ooh, nice. Oh, you're Jewish. You are not white. You're a mix of cockroach and dung battle. So close. Ooh. Oh, Jake Steinberg Goldstein thinks he's white. Nice. Cool. All right. All right. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I think sometimes my my every so often, I think something that I get a lot is a comment from somebody who is naive and who goes, "Man, I did not know. I did not know about this. This is news to me. I did not know people were like this." And I think it's important to show stuff like that. And something that I have repeated a lot is that I think a lot of people don't know what it's like to be made a target. And I have been made a target many times. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah, something to keep in mind. All right. The terms that I have on my YouTube comment filter thing, so they automatically get deleted or whatever, you wouldn't believe. And every so often you go into the bucket that has the auto deleted comments, and it's crazy. It's crazy, chat. And the Xenoblade people are not shy. I've gotten a lot of they're coming through in these Xenoblade videos, I tell you. All right. All right, chat, let's transition. Let's start the YouTube VOD. Let's get it done. All right. You're going to hear me re-explain a little bit of what I said like an hour ago, but I'm going to keep it brief. I'm going to keep it cool. I'm going to hit the sweet spots and then we're going to keep rolling, okay? This is going to be good. Let me pull up my notes again. All right. Take two. Goddamn. What is up, everybody? Welcome to today's Xenoblade stream. Before we get started, I have a little presentation I want to go over about where we've been and where we are going. Because last stream, we played Chapter 9, which I identified as the midpoint of the game. And I think Playing through that section has given me a lot of juice, and I can pretty much tell you with a lot of confidence where the story is going next. Now, by virtue of this being a high concept fantasy fiction setting, there are a lot of elements that I'm sure I am not going to be able to predict, but I think I understand the story, what it is trying to say, and how all of the major players factor into it. So not only do I have a presentation for you here, but I am going to be relying on the live chat to potentially ask me some questions, prompt some predictions on my end, and we can see how close I can get to the final product. Because let me tell you something, chat. Let me tell you something. I was just watching The Residence on Netflix. I really love this show, The Residence. A murder mystery that takes place in the White House. My wife and I just finished it last night. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. But there was a moment we were watching the show, and I remember I looked at her and I said, Sarah, I got it. I got it. I got it all figured out. And I knew. And chat, I'm happy to say that I was in fact correct. You know, we do the whole thing. We make the little note. I tell her the whole thing. I write out the whole thing. And and I nailed it. And this is one of my powers. I got that Monado in the back pocket. And chat, let me tell you something. I think I'm at that point with this game. I don't think there is anything anyone could ask me about how this story of this game is going to go I'm not saying I'm going to get every detail right, but I feel like I've learned enough about how this game does storytelling and what this game is about that I know where we are going. Eventually, I got to go back. I got to watch that first episode of this series, and I got to see what I even said, where I thought the game was going at this point. But now I got so much data, so much juice. I know what we're doing. So first things first. Let me break down Chapter 9, The Midpoint. I noticed in the YouTube comments of the last video, a lot of people were confused why I was using the word climax, and that is because fun in games, the fun in games section of a story, it is about creating an upward path so that you can have a false victory or a downward path so that you can have a false defeat. Fun in games drives you to the midpoint, okay? So the peak of that upward path or that downward path, a climax, the peak of this part of the story, the midpoint. That is why I used that term. I know that term gets thrown around a lot, especially when you're in English classes growing up, so I just wanted to clarify what I meant by that there. And something important to recognize about the midpoint is that it shines a light on what the protagonist lacks and raises the stakes. So the midpoint is when you kind of figure out what the story is really about. You start to align with the huge thing about the midpoint. This is where you find yourself most aligned with the B plot of the story. Interesting. We've talked about the B plot before. When I say B plot, a lot of people think, oh, there's the A plot, the important plot, and the B plot, the side plot. That's not what that is. When I say B plot, I am referring to the internal plot, the emotional story that is happening alongside the plot. We need to get to Prison Island. We need to find these people. We need to get revenge. But what is the story? What are we internally learning? What are the lessons that we're trying to learn in the story, the B plot? And I think up until the midpoint, up until now, had been confused about what the B plot was. And I think I have said over and over again, it's like, oh, okay, there's some B plot stuff going on here with Shulk. And now that I have seen the midpoint of the game, I can tell you with certainty what the B plot actually was. Okay. Something I was not properly weighing in my understanding of the story up till this point was the emphasis on the humanity behind the Mechon, particularly the faced Mechon. Over the course of the story, you are traveling across the Bionis, and people are kind of making these weird little comments about how, oh man, it's like it's actually alive or whatever. And every time you meet these faced Mechon, the first time you meet them, you don't think anything of it. But what do I always say about stories? Stories develop. They are a movement, not a moment. What is the story being developed with the faced Mechon? You meet one the first time, it's nothing. You meet one the second time, wait a second. This one has a voice. Wait, now it's got a personality. Wait, now it's talking to me as if it knows me. Wait, you see, this story is developing. It is our understanding of what the Mechonis is, what these Mechon creatures are. That is the B plot. This challenging our understanding of who these people are, how they operate in the world, and challenging our assumptions of what they were. That, I think, is the most important thing that is being developed alongside the main story. Now, looking back, I feel like it's so clear. And you see how the B plot hits its own climax, has its own peak, right? If you're charting this trajectory throughout the story, you're getting more information. It's climbing. What is the peak of that revelation concerning the faced Mechon that happens at the midpoint? What is that peak? What is the thing that totally confirms and transforms our understanding of who or what the faced Mechon are? What is that thing? I'm asking the chat, what is it? What happens that completely transforms our understanding of our faced Mechon? There's something climaxes in this scene in chapter 9, and it takes control, and it Fiora, yes, good job, yes, good job, chat, good job. Okay, this is good. I can tell people are on this. Good. Yeah. So we reveal the human being underneath this faced Mechon, and we go, this changes everything. The stakes have been raised. And again, what do we do at the midpoint? We put a spotlight on what the protagonist lacks. What does the protagonist lack? We see Shulk sees Fiora in this faced Mechon. This puts a spotlight on what the protagonist lacks. Understanding. In a journey driven by revenge, what have they forgotten? What have they overlooked? What have they accepted as fact that is actually far from it? That is where we are going after chapter 9. That's where we are going. I crossed out false victory on here because I actually think we were given a false defeat. It's not that important. I kind of like what we just built to. So the thing that we are lacking is understanding. So where do we go from here? Shulk's revenge quest is no longer so simple, right? We experience the false defeat. The Metal Face forces, they still kind of like have the upper hand. Fiora is taken away. And now our story is not about just destroying the Mechon. It's about saving Fiora. And this shifts the entire narrative direction and emotional core of the story. And something you'll see a lot, I just remembered this actually, is in a midpoint, is that this is when you look at stories and when you look at kind of how protagonists tend to change when you are faced with the wait, what is this? Oh, we got a gifted sub. Cammy the Cat. Cammy the Cat has gifted a sub to First Series Dex. Thank you so much, Cammy the Cat. But something that happens at this point in the story is that how do I want to say this? You see the shift happen from want into need for the protagonist. You see what they want. And it's like, oh, okay, the story is kind of driven up to this point by what Shulk wants to happen. And now it's like, okay, what will actually let this story end? What do they need to know to learn the lesson, to understand the theme of the story, what needs to happen? And I think they need to understand the world, and they need to understand the faced Mechon and their place in this world. I think that's what you need to see happen at this point in the story. Does that make sense? That was a little muddy. For me, but I think that makes sense. All right, great. So let's talk about where I think the story. Okay, thank you. Very helpful, chat. Let's talk about where I think the story is going next. So let's talk about chapter 10. Okay. So for chapter 10, we are going from the midpoint of the story to the next beat. The next beat is known as the bad guys close in. So, I'm expecting the bad guys close in beat. This is kind of the fun and games of the second half of the story, okay? So a lot of stuff happens here. I even say it'll probably be between chapters 10 to 13. That's just a guess. In like, if you were like writing a novel, I would say this is from like the 50% point to the 75% point of the book is bad guys closing in. So a lot of different stuff. Thank you for revealing yourself. A lot of different stuff is going to happen here. And I'm just taking a guess. This is just me taking a guess. Chapters 10 to 13. So I wrote down a list of things that I think will happen between chapter 10 and chapter 13. Now that I'm doing this, it's so stupid. It's like, all right, here's a list of things I think are gonna happen. All right, let's do it. Okay. So here's what I wrote. This is so dumb. All right, here's what I wrote. The party will reel from the prison island revelations. Melia will leave the party to run the kingdom. Alvis will officially join the party. Shulk will grapple with what revenge really means. Does he still want to kill all of the Mechon, or is there another way? In chapter 10 specifically, this is still chapter 10, the main thing that we're doing in chapter 10 is that we need to understand stuff. We need to level up our understanding. So what we are going to do by the end of chapter 10 is that we are going to reveal a fake main villain. I say fake main villain for reasons that will become clear later, but we will reveal a character that we will prop up as the guy pulling all the strings, the bad guy that we need to go defeat. There'll be a great boss fight with him later. Next, still in chapter 10, mind you. That's how important this kind of leveling up in understanding is for this point of the story. We need to better understand the relationship between the faced Mechon and the people inside of them. We are going to clear this up. I think it will shock people the degree to which we clear this up almost immediately in chapter 10. Almost immediately. That's how confident I am in this. Before the end of chapter 10, you are going to have some blatant demonstration and exposition about the person inside the faced Mechon. We are going to understand. It is no more tiptoeing around it. We're going to get some answers about this. All right. Okay. Now I want to say, so that was we're still chapter 10 to 13. Let's go. Now chapter 11. What happens in chapter 11? Let me tell you. Chapter 11 is going to be all about pitching this kind of us versus them idea, okay? So you've got all of these people that we've met over the course of the journey. You've got the Hyentia, the Nopon village. You've got all these guys. And this is where you've seen this in movies all of the time. We're all like, okay, we're behind you. We're behind you. You've got the Nopon army. You've got the Hyentia army. We are all on the same side. We are all gearing up for this fight. Shulk, we are behind you. What is the next move? That's chapter 11. But important, okay? Big battle in the colonies. Big battle in chapter 11, okay? I think it is important. We've gotten our new understanding from chapter 10 about the faced Mechon. Chapter 11, I think it is important that we kill a faced Mechon. Let me tell you who it's going to be. Do you guys remember Charla's old boyfriend? Gado! 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 You've forgotten about Gado. I think that Gado, this is where you deploy him. I think that Gado is the perfect person here, okay? So here's what I think. Here's how I think you do it. You fight the Gado faced Mechon. You reveal Gado inside the faced Mechon. And I think you have to have Charla kill him. Okay? And I think what you're doing here is that you show that the person inside the faced Mechon is not the person that they used to be. They might have some of their memories, they might have some of their personality traits, but that person is a shell of who they used to be. And Charla sees this, and Charla kills him. And that's going to be the end of chapter 11, because what you're doing there is that by killing a faced Mechon, you are going to kind of fuel this emotional turmoil that speaks to the misunderstanding of who these creatures are. Because in chapter 12, what you're going to do, okay, so that's the end of chapter 11. Chapter 12, you open up. In chapter 12, the big kind of like set piece moment, I think, is going to be that we confront the faced Mechon that has Fiora inside of it, and we save Fiora. Okay, we get her out of the faced Mechon. And what this is going to do is that this is going to make our murder from the last chapter feel extremely weird. Okay, the dramatizing, the emotional turmoil of misunderstanding. Oh God, if only we knew better. If only we saved Fiora. Oh, we didn't have to kill Gatto. Oh God, oh, bleh. Okay, all right. I'm realizing now that in my notes, how many chapters do you think there are? I answered this earlier, but I'm assuming that chapter 9 was the midpoint, so I'm just saying 18 chapters. All right, I didn't put anything for chapter 13. Chapter 13, I wrote emotional and wishy-washy. Okay. Oh man, all right. Let me see. Okay, chapter 14. All is lost. Okay, so this is our next beat. We are after bad guys close in, and we are now at the all is lost beat of the story. Okay, this is a hype beat of the story. Jake, what is everybody doing? Jake wants kissing in chapter 13. Yeah, kinda. Wait, hold on. To be real though, Shulk Fiora kiss. Lock it in before chapter 14, before the all is lost. Lock in a Shulk and Fiora kiss. Lock it in. Lock it in. I will. If there is not a Shulk and Fiora kiss before the end of chapter 14, I'll delete my account. I will delete my account. I will delete my account. That's right. That's right. Chat, you have to be confident. Chat, you have to be confident. If you're not confident, what's even the point of this? That's right. I am high stakes gambling. All right? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the all is lost point of the story, right? So what you're looking for here is, I think, self-explanatory. And I think a lot of people who, if you just like consume movies and stuff, you will be kind of familiar with this beat. Again, this kind of comes when you are 75% of the way into your story. I think especially in like Disney movies, it's like really easy to kind of identify the all is lost beat. You know what I mean? That low point before like that final swing up, that like hard swing upwards. Like you see that all the time. And what you're looking for here is rock bottom. Your hero hits. Oh, Triss, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you so much, Triss. Jake's putting it all on black with that one. Guys, I don't think this is that gambly of a bet. I would be shocked if we go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and there's no... If Shulk does not get a kissy with Fiora before he hits rock bottom, Shulk will die. He will die, and someone else is the actual hero of the story. You think a Nintendo game has a kiss in it? Let me tell you, Missable. Let me tell you. Not only am I convinced I'm back. I'm starting to back out of this one. I was about to raise the stakes. Now logic is leaking in. I'm backing out. Not only will Shulk kiss Fiora in this game, someone will talk about it. Someone will say the word kiss. Maybe Ryan. Maybe not Shulk. Maybe Fiora herself. That is how important this kiss is going to be. Somebody's going to say it, okay? I can't believe you kissed me. Kissing at a time like this? Shulk. I wish our first kiss was under better circumstances. I can't believe you kissed me before Alvis. Did the Monado tell you? I like that thing you did with your tongue. So this is the true power of the Monado. Ooh! Again, Shulk. Oh my god. Alright. Okay. Anyways. Oh, something I forgot to mention. At some point in the bad guys closing in section, Melia rejoins the party. I think Melia has to come back. She could come back after All Is Lost, but I kind of think between now and All Is Lost, I think we're gonna get Melia back in here. All right. Well, my mods have pinned a salacious message against me. So the important thing about hitting rock bottom is that it's kind of cheesy, but it's kind of true that nobody really changes until they hit rock bottom. So I think our question needs to be, like, what does rock bottom look like for Shulk? What kind of rock bottom would really serve Shulk and serve this game? So I think in chapter 14, just doing the math on how much of the story is left, if I think I know vaguely how many chapters are left, you're looking at big reveals and big. Yeah, I said that Melia was going to leave the party in the chapter we're about to play. We're looking at big reveals and big battles in chapter 14. I think chapter 14, we're looking for someone to die. And if I could take a guess about how to fuel the story, about what the story is begging for, what would be the ultimate kind of articulation of All Is Lost, I think two things have to happen. One, we have to learn that the Bionis are the bad guys, and they've been the bad guys the whole time. Okay? But more importantly than that, the Mechons, particularly the faced Mechons, and whoever's in charge of them, they are specifically there trying to get revenge for something that we don't know about. Okay? I think that, I'm going to get to this with my next slide, but I think that for us to have an All Is Lost moment, you need to have this dramatic misunderstanding of how you were positioned in the world and how they were positioned in the world, and I think you want to flip those things. So actually, it's the Mechon who have been on this revenge journey this whole time for something that the Homs and the Bionis people did. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, I think, I'm not 100% sure how you do this. I think Shulk has to die. Stay with me. At the very least, I think it has to look like Shulk is dead. And I think it has to be Fiora that kills him. I think Fiora needs to turn on Shulk, and I think that would send him to rock bottom. Okay? So what you're looking at there, and what I'm trying to do there is I wanna create a consequence, because I think something that we're gonna see in this game is you obviously I think having Fiora betray Shulk in this way, sending him to rock bottom, that's very obvious. I don't have to over-explain that. But I do think that's something that we're leading up to in the chapters following All Is Lost, is that I think that let me get it actually. The break into 3. I think something important is that we need to Shulk needs to lose his powers somehow. That's a beat that we have to hit in this story. The ability to see into the future, maybe the ability to use the Monado at all. And I think like being critically injured by Fiora, maybe having some hard to swallow interpretations about this world. And so there's part of hitting rock bottom needs to be not only a misunderstanding about the world and a betrayal by the person closest to him, but I think it also needs to be this thing that has been empowering him throughout this entire journey loses its power and thus robs Shulk of the power that he thought he had. Yeah. So, okay. Now, there's a lot of story left after the break into 3, but I kind of want to save it for a future video and a future talk later. But there is one thing that I really want to talk about that I think is worth isolating. Okay, let's talk. Let's talk. I think we can pretty much piece together Zanza's whole thing. I think we pretty much have it figured out. I don't think anyone for a second believes that Zanza is dead. I don't think anybody believes that for a second, right? And like, I mean, like when it happened, you know what I mean? The spear goes through Zanza. I don't think for a second anybody's like, oh, Zanza's dead. And I've been trying to figure out. Yeah. I mean, before we even saw that scene, I don't think anybody, I think the reason that the game feels good, giving us that scene of Alvis and Zanza talking afterwards is because I don't think any audience member thinks that character is dead just by the way that character is presented. Think about what I said about the last section. This reveal that the Mechon have been on a revenge mission this entire time. Okay? I think what we're going to reveal here and what we're going to look at is this idea that Zanza, I think, is there to be this almost physical manifestation of the concept of the cycle of violence. I think that's what we are trying to do here. This guy is the cycle of violence, okay? And we know that Zanza, chained up, whatever, has been around since like ancient times. We know this. We know that Zanza is connected to the Monado. We know that Shulk is connected to the Monado. We know that there is something about Shulk that makes him special, that makes him capable of wielding the Monado. We know that Shulk has a weird origin story in which a bunch of people from the colony discovered the Monado, and then Dixon was discovered. Or Dixon discovered Shulk there alone. Everybody else had died. So what happened? What happened? We know that the game is playing with this idea, with the faced Mechon, of having people be inhabited by the consciousness of another. we see this happening throughout the game. Obviously, like Fiora is there, but somebody else is there too. The Faced Mechon seem to have these personalities that were carried over from whoever they were before, but also something else is at the wheel. Zanza is in the Monado. The colony discovers the Monado. Zanza jumps from the Monado into Shulk. Shulk kills everyone else in the colony. Does not remember this. It is unclear to me who's driving, who's at the wheel. But I do think something that will happen closer to the finale of this game is some kind of Zanza taking over Shulk, you know, having that kind of dramatic turn. But I do think that Shulk was kind of implicated in this way earlier than anybody expected. This to me, I feel like I understand that, like I'm having a hard time verbalizing what I feel that I understand about this part in the story, because I feel like I get it, but I'm having a hard time like really spelling it out. I just like know that all of these things are connected. I can just like see it clearly. Somebody asked what's Dixon's role in this. I think that Dixon knows a lot more than Dixon lets on somehow, but I haven't quite put that together. I don't think that Dixon is particularly like dramatically important for for the story that we're getting. So yeah, so we'll see. But I think that I think what's important is that I think Dixon knows like exactly what is going on. Like Dixon has all the answers. I think that's my stance. I still don't really understand Alvis, and what role Alvis will play in the story. But a part of me thinks that it's kind of like a Xehanort situation, and there are just all of these different like little versions of Zanza running around. In the same way that I think we will have a kind of like Mechon parallel to this, right? This kind of like Mechon consciousness that is spread to different bodies. Okay. And I think what this will achieve is that it is showing that these two people who are at odds with each other, who are at war with each other, are actually much more similar than we ever would have originally thought. At some point in this game, it doesn't really matter when, at some point, this is a given, they will reveal that there was a time of great peace between the Homs and the Mechons and all of the they will say that everybody was happy, everybody was peaceful until Zanza betrayed the Mechons and kicked off this whole thing. That's what, you know, yeah. So that's where I'm at. That's what we've got. That's what I think for where we are and where we're going. That's what I prepared for you today. Okay. Yeah, I hope that was fun. So, any questions about different story stuff? Questions about things I might have neglected to talk about? What happens in these beats? I think it's all pretty easy to understand, right? Because it's like, from the midpoint, you kind of get your fun and games part 2, bad guys closing in, where it's, you know, it's like that sequence in an action movie where the bad guys, they kind of like regroup. They failed to do their plan at the midpoint, and they come back stronger, more organized, bigger and badder weapons. You're kind of doing the same thing. Let's talk about that really quick. Let's talk about my expectation for the end of this story is that we reveal Shulk has some of this Zanza in him, right? And I think that there will be a point in the story where Shulk can either embrace the Zanza and become the new powerful reality-bending guy, or he can just be Shulk. And obviously, the conclusion of the story will be Shulk understanding that he doesn't need to
We're
be in control of
best
the
friends,
future, that he doesn't have to
right?
affect how things are going. You know, the conclusion of the story is Shulk saying, I want everybody to have free will, right? So that's I think pretty clearly kind of like where we're building. The rejection of power, you know what I mean? The whole story is like, embrace the Monado, the true power of the Monado, upgrade the Monado, use the Monado. Where we're going is you need to reject the Monado. You need to reject Zanza. You need to reject all of this stuff kind of tied into this thing. What was the question? I'm so sorry. I was on something and now shit. Oh, what's the role for the other party members going forward? I am not seeing how they will do anything particularly. Yeah, I just don't think it's that important. I think it's about the numbers. I think it's about building up to the big fights and the big confrontations. I do have a moment for Sharla and Gatto because I do think that was built up previously, but I don't really think we're gonna do anything more with like Riki and the Nopon besides having them be like part of the army. Like Rhine. Okay, if this was a really good story, Rhine turns on you at the end because he is not able to reach the level of understanding that Shulk is. Rhine is like you on this revenge mission, and Shulk is able to achieve some kind of level of inner peace that Rhine is not able to get to, and there's like a dramatic turn there. You know what I mean? I would maybe use Rhine that way, because he's been kind of able to kind of like stealth go along with Shulk on that journey the whole time, and it would make sense that this, you know, Shulk, somebody who's characterized as being incredibly thoughtful, would be the difference between him and Rhine. So, yeah. Jake, do you have any theories about why the Monado has the power that it does? Ooh, good question. I don't know if this is like really obvious, and if it is, maybe not answering the question. But I think like we've been given this stuff about the Monado that it's like not even a sword. It's like a manipulator of reality, and because it is like, this is kind of weird, but you know how it's like there's like God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. I feel like Zanza is God, and then Alvis is Jesus, and the Monado is the Holy Spirit. So it's just like a little bit of God power, and it can kind of just do anything. So like the reasons it does the things that it does with Shulk is kind of because of Shulk and Shulk's like purview of what's possible, right? Yeah. That would be my guess. Did you talk more about the break into 3? No, because it's not that important. So the thing to know about like the break into 3 is just that you are transitioning out of All Is Lost, and so okay, all right. So a lot of people won't include this, but I will when I'm teaching. In between All Is Lost and the break into 3, there will be called the Dark Night of the Soul. Okay, and I'm still thinking about how that's going to function here. But the idea is this shows up 75 to 80% of the way into your story, and it shows how your character, your hero, reacts to the All Is Lost and how they eventually break through to a resolution. So if the All Is Lost is the, you know, people don't really change until they hit rock bottom. If All Is Lost is a catalyst, then naturally the Dark Night of the Soul, you go back, what was the beat after the catalyst? It was the debate. The Dark Night of the Soul is kind of the debate after the All Is Lost moment. After hitting rock bottom, what does your hero do? What does anybody do? They react. So you have this moment where Shulk is going to think about everything that happened. They will ponder, they will contemplate, they will wallow. And in Jane Eyre, Jane runs away and she goes to Thornfield Hall. And what happens there? She like starves to death, or she like almost starves to death, right? So this is the wallowing beat, if you will. And you know, some characters don't wallow, some characters get angry. That's the way that they express it. I kind of think Shulk is a bit of a wallower. But yeah, it's a single scene. It happens fast. It probably won't have an entire chapter, the wallow beat, right? It'll happen fast after all is lost. I guess that's not entirely true. I'm being a little prescriptive there. I think some people would write it where it is longer than that. So the 3 refers to Act 3. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did not make that clear. Yes, Act 3. I'm so sorry. That is entirely on me. Yeah, so when people... Okay, so here's a little inside baseball for you. So Act 3 is also referred to as the synthesis in craft terms, okay? And think about it this way. Act 1 is the thesis, right? Oh my God, so many people miss that. I'm so sorry. I'm so killed by this stuff that sometimes I forget. The break into Act 3, I'm so sorry. That isn't 100% on me. So think about Act 1 as the thesis. You have this. You are presenting the status quo of the world, and then Act 2 is the antithesis. Okay, it's the upside down world, and then now Act 3 is the synthesis. Act 3 is the fusion of those two worlds. So Act 1, this is the status quo. We are seeing the world for what we are digesting. We are taking in a version of the world that the protagonist believes is real, believes to be true, believes to be unquestionable. Okay. Antithesis, the upside down world. And we're seeing that now, where we are in the game right now. The faced Mechon, Fiora, all of this stuff. We are in Act 2 right now. This is like, okay, our understanding of the world is shaking and there is more friction than ever here. This is where we are uncomfortable. We need to figure something else out now. We need to level up our understanding. To exist in the antithesis of the world, we need to understand it better. And now, Act 3, the synthesis, the fusion of these two worlds. Who the hero was in Act 1, plus what they learn in Act 2, gives you who they will become in Act 3. So, if the midpoint is the crossroads of all things, and we kind of experience that, right, on Prison Island, then this final act is the blending of all things. The hero will combine their Act 1 self with their Act 2 self. And then the self that they choose to become in Act 3 should be the new and improved version of themselves. We're looking to see relationships get repaired and mended in Act 3. We want the A and B stories to meet again, but this time they will intertwine and we become one story. So this, who the Mechon are, who the faced Mechon are, the plot, like all of this stuff should congeal into one thing. And it's the fun and the excitement of the external story combined with the knowledge and wisdom of the internal story to create the kind of most dynamic, engaging, and powerful third act that will resonate with your audience. That's what makes the Act 3 so fun, is that you've got the plot, you've got the internal story. Now this is the moment of transcendence where they all come together. Yeah, so the break into 3. Here's how you remember what the break into 3 is. Why do I use the word break? Why do I use the word break? It is a breakthrough. It is a breakthrough into Act 3. At this moment of the story, when you're doing the break into 3, thanks to all of their struggles in the upside down world, in the antithesis of the world, in Act 2, and thanks to all of the lessons that they've learned from the B story characters, the B story plot, whatever that was, your hero finally realizes what they must do to fix all of the problems that they realized, that they were presented with in Act 2, okay? But also, most importantly, the hero realizes how to fix themselves. So that's when you know. You hit rock bottom, you do the Dark Night of the Soul, breakthrough. I know what I need to do now. Let's go into Act 3. That's your break into 3. Cool. It's like in Grapes of Wrath when Tom is like, I gotta form a union. He's like, it's time to organize the workers, you know? Something that you're always looking for with your break into 3. This is in every story. Every story. Something that you're always looking for is some version of the protagonist going, it was never them who had to change. It was me. That's what you're looking for. All right. Chat, this has been a long stream. This is crazy. I don't know if the next VOD will have any gameplay. I did not think I was going to talk for this long about this. This might be its own VOD, which feels bad. I don't know. I mean, we're going to play. We're going to play. I'm just thinking maybe this is the whole VOD. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is not normal. You're watching an extremely abnormal streamer right now. I hope everybody, I'm sure you all know that. Oh God. What have I done? A literalization of the cycle of violence. And who better than like the god of this world to represent that? Because, you know, you have this person who, we saw it in the scene on Prison Island. Remember this, like, Melia's like, don't do it, Shulk, don't do it. And he's like, take the power, go on the dark side, take it, baby. So like that told us a lot about Zanza. And I think I really like this idea of tyranny disguised as divinity. You know, somebody who creates life, but only for the purpose of destroying it or destroying other lives. And you know, it's a good symbol for any oppressive power, any oppressive system that maintains power by convincing people that they are inevitable or necessary. And it ties in really well with Shulk's journey, this idea of you have this character throughout the entire story who is constantly kind of presented with this fate versus free will, this friction between those two ideas. And Zanza, who I think will, as a god figure, will come to represent perfectly the idea of the predetermined world, the fate, the what is a cycle of violence, if not the ultimate expression of fate. And then by defeating Zanza, Shulk will symbolically reject the idea that fate is absolute, and alongside his friends, prove that people can create their own futures. So, yeah. If, I really like this. I think that this is set up for like a really great ending, just because Shulk's journey, you're doing this thing the whole game. This is I think this is really quick, chat, really quick. This is like my favorite thing about the game. If I understand the story correctly, this is my favorite thing about the game. I think Shulk's whole journey is defined by this growing sense of agency, right? He starts off wielding the Monado, which he believes is his to control. And it will turn out later that maybe it was Zanza all along. He actually was not in any control. He's been manipulated this whole time. And I think when this power is taken from him... Ooh. Zanza will take the Monado from Shulk and kill him with it. This is my decree. Okay. Okay. Scratch what I said before. As I was explaining it, that makes way more sense than the Fiora thing I said before. That makes way more sense. I think, like, there will be a contrivance that explains why Shulk is not killed, but I think that is the beat. That is the beat that the story will want. We'll have this growing sense of agency thanks to the Monado. The Monado will be taken from him and used against him. That is such a great dramatization of his misunderstanding of this world, right? And Shulk will make his own weapon alongside his friends. They will forge a weapon that he will use instead of the Monado to defeat Zanza. Sometimes when you talk these things out, it becomes so clear. Yes, his own Keyblade. That is a great comparison. Yeah, he got to get his own Keyblade. Dude. Oh, chat, I literally just gave myself chills because it's like, that would be such a great mark of the completion of this character's arc, right? He's no longer a pawn in somebody else's game. He is forging his own destiny with this thing, fulfilling the role of what he thought the Monado was doing all along. Shit! No! If this doesn't happen, I'm gonna be so mad! Oh, I'm gonna be so mad! Oh my god. Rejecting the divine authority of the Monado to build a better future via his own pen. Shit! All right. Let's play this game. God damn. Oh god. Chat, I've been talking for so long that my Nintendo Switch has gone into sleep mode. You did it. You cheeky bastard. You made it to the very end of the video. God damn. Oh my god. Thank you so much. You're here. I realize now. You know, recording the beginning, editing the video, getting to the end. I'm wearing the same sweatshirt that I was wearing when we streamed this section. A little embarrassing, a little weird, a little strange. I own many sweatshirts. What am I doing? But I feel like if you made it here, you're like my highest propensity viewer. You're an extremely good faith viewer. So thank you so much, really, sincerely, for getting through the end of this incredibly long video that featured absolutely no gameplay. Embarrassing, highly embarrassing for me, but thank you so much. If you could please, my highest propensity viewer, a little comment telling me you appreciated this. I didn't feel good about this. I felt nervous about this. Obviously, there's going to be a short turnaround to the actual gameplay section here that we recorded on the same day. But you know, at this point, you know me. There are certain things that I think are important to talk about and I think are worth listening to. So if you could affirm that in the comments, I would really appreciate it, because I know I'm going to get those people that are like, just play the game. And anytime I see a comment like that, that's just like, stop talking about the politics, just play the game. All I think about is, you know those little guys? You know those little monkeys that have the symbols? That's who I see. That's who I see in my mind's eye. And maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like I remember one in specific from Hey Arnold. That's who I see. That's who I think that commenter is. But I guess that's neither here nor there. Anyways, thank you so much again for making it to the end of the video. We'll have a new video coming soon. Please leave a comment if you are so kind. But otherwise, I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.